Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Dream Career Talk Show. Dream Career Talk Show is a part of my mission to transform 10 million lives by helping people to unlock their full potential and grow fast in their careers. Here on this show, we are going to have industry experts from various domains who can share their knowledge, their challenges, their experiences, their failures, and success, which can help other corporate professionals to get clarity, direction, hope, inspiration, and of course, the right steps to build their dream career. We all know automation, it is changing the way we work. Automation is being used in every industry. Most of the companies are using automation to get better results, reduce human intervention, save cost, increase productivity, and provide better customer experiences. Now, script based automation, robotic process automation, IT process automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and there is so much in automation from initial analysis to actual delivery. How are the automation projects executed? To understand more about it, we have our special guest today who has been in the automation world working with clients globally and building automation solutions from the scratch. Rahim Lodi is a technology service delivery leader with 18 plus years of professional experience delivering technology solutions and services over a wide range of technologies. His career includes SME roles delivering emerging technology solutions, project management, program management, and leadership roles. He has wide range of experience working with some top IT companies like MobiApps, Cyber, IBM, and Cognizant. Rahim, welcome to the Dream Career Talk Show. I'm super excited to have you today on the show.
Hey, thank you, Fatha. I've been like a follower of yours. You have been doing great.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Rahim, for that. And it's always been a lot of support from you. And I also always have been inspired by the way your career journey has been, the way you have grown from the place where you started and where you are. So can you share about your career journey and how did you get started? Did you get started with automation or was it something else?
Oh, way back when I started, I'll take you back to my engineering days.
Sure.
So automation for me is like not a technology. It is not a tool, but it is a way of thinking, right? So when we started, when we were doing engineering, we used to have something called as Visual Basic, wherein we used to learn the basics of programming and then do small projects around it. And I was like fascinated by the ease of doing things using Visual Basic. And then as we were progressing in our semesters, we learned Java.
Right.
And when we learned Java, it was like a complete shift from what Visual Basic was. It was like object oriented. And the way we were taught was we used to open up a notepad and write programs. But in Visual Basic, it was all like drag and drop, and the code used to get auto-generated. And there were a lot of things that used to happen very easily. So my idea of my final year project was to create an editor using Visual Basic for Java. So what that would do was I could go ahead and literally drag and drop objects, and that would auto-generate the code that would help students write code in Java much easier. So that led to a thought process of, okay, how we can actually do things but easily and by doing it in an automated way. So then I went on to get a job and I started my career as a test engineer, which was again a fascinating experience at MobiApps. So here, what I did was like my first assignment was to go ahead and basically take a log file. We used to work on embedded systems, wherein we used to do GPS tracking devices. So every second there used to be data coming to the system from the satellites, and the data used to get analyzed, and roughly around 20 to 25 different odd metrics used to get recorded every second. And as part of the functional testing, what we used to do was to go ahead and analyze the data over a period of 24 hours. So we used to fit this vehicle, devices in the buses and things like that. They used to go around for 24 hours, come back, and we used to take the data and analyze. So in a nutshell, we are talking about analyzing 30, 40,000 rows of data across 20, 25 odd columns. So it used to be like
Interesting.
matrix running around, right?
Yeah.
And we had to find a fault in that data, like if the
Hmm.
system was performing as per the defined norms and the requirements. So that used to be like a really crazy experience for us. And when we used to take a break for lunch or tea, it used to be like you close your eyes and you used to see numbers running around.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So out of my interest, what I did was I took that. I again had the Visual Basic interest, so I went ahead and wrote a parser to go ahead and analyze this data and find the data which had the fault and color code it and write it to a different log file. So
Hmm.
what we used to take roughly around 4 to 5 hours to analyze one log file ended up in like 15 minutes.
Wow.
And that led to a transition for me, right? So when my boss saw this, he said that, okay, yeah, it's good, now we don't need you, right? We don't need you to do this analysis anymore. This tool is going to do it for us, right? You can
Hmm.
transition onto a better role. And I was offered the role into embedded system programming, and I started doing programming using C, and that had like a beautiful experience of actually learning real-time operating systems and various things like that. So again, learning very core operating system skills, that had like a really beautiful experience about learning how the system actually internal works, right? The whole concept of threads, queues, and various things like that. So moving on, I did embedded system programming for well over 7 years, I think. And then I had various program management roles clubbed onto that. Then I took a jump from there to actually infrastructure operations. So
Hmm.
basically, as part of my embedded system programming, we used to define protocols for satellite communication. We used to work with something called as OPCOM, wherein we used to go into areas where there is no network coverage for your mobile phones, GSM, CDMA, and things like that. And the only possible way of communication is through a satellite, wherein we used to have this critical devices being sent on boats, luxury boats, and ships. Right?
Hmm.
They're in the middle of the ocean. You can't expect network coverage to be there. So the only
Right.
means of communication was using a satellite. So here,
Hmm.
what we used to do was we used to define protocols, and the data that we used to send, it's not megabytes, kilobytes, but the data in bits. So I
Hmm.
understood the importance of uh, the amount of data that you send out, how critical it is. You're supposed to package it into bits, and each bit is important for you. And the whole
Right.
concept of TCP/IP, UDP, and various things like that. And then we had a backend system running on Java, right? So I used to very often be called on to actually go ahead and review their code to make sure that the protocol is in sync. What we are sending from the device and what we are receiving at the backend had to match. And very
Right.
often we used to have a disconnect there. It used to since I had a varied experience of programming into C, Visual Basic, Java, it was like I used to get called on to go ahead and review certain codes there. So that led to my interest onto, okay, understanding how this is running on the server side. So
Hmm.
I understood the application part of it. Then the next step was the backend and the infrastructure around it.
Hmm.
So although I was doing very good in my career in terms of like making pretty good money, I took actually a cut. And then I went ahead and joined a different company and started again as a consultant to in infrastructure operations. So that was my journey starting off into and getting into infrastructure operations. And from there on, it's like, okay, I joined cyber. Then I had like Windows, Citrix, VMware, backup. I was never shy of technology, right?
Hmm.
So when I used to see a technology, okay, what is the next thing? Okay, how do I learn this? Get my hands dirty around it, sit with a few experts, and then like, okay, I'm the expert. That's how
Wow.
it's always been. So I learned all these technologies. Then I started figuring out how do I go ahead and improve things, right? How do I go ahead and automate things? It has always been like, okay, I used to see something being done manual. I used to go ahead and write a script And if there is analysis, I used to go ahead and do it on Notepad++ or TextPad at that time, right? We can go ahead and record macros and things like that and rerun macros. Again, it's like the way you think, right? The moment you
Yes.
see something manual, there is a light bulb. You'll start thinking like, okay, how do I get this automated, right?
Right.
So that has been all the way through. Then I went on to join IBM. It was the same thing again. I joined it as a Citrix professional. Then I started automating their entire change management process, deploying various applications for them using scripting again. From there on, I got, then that is where the actual automation journey picked up in IBM.
Mhm.
So they had a huge investment in one of the tools, and we started deploying it across all the clients within IBM. And then I slowly transitioned over from there to Cognizant and played a much wider role for Cognizant.
Wow. It's been an amazing journey. And when you are talking, I can clearly see how passionate you are about technology, right? And I can also understand that automation has not come to you newly now. It's been right from your college days where you have always been fascinated about automating things. So that's
Yeah.
really good to know. And Rahim, what I see is in your career journey, I see you have been into many things, but two major fields you have been into. One is embedded systems, other one is infrastructure automation. Both are great technologies to work on and build a career. Now, which technology did you love the most working on?
Oh, that's a nice one. Yeah. So the way I look at it, Fatah, is like if you look at what embedded systems or embedded programming does for you is to actually work at grassroots level, right?
Mhm.
So here you can actually go ahead and see how the actual operating system works, how multi-threading works, what is the role of multi-cores, the CPUs that you have, what is the importance of having them, right?
Mhm.
And then you go to a very low level of like bit-size programming, understanding protocols and implementing the protocols. And when you go to infrastructure operations, it is the application of this actually.
Right. Mhm.
So having a concept of these two things is going to enable you to actually talk technology, to understand
Right.
technology. And when you go and meet enterprise architects or your security architects and various other industry leaders, right? So you know what you're talking. You're not bluffing them,
Right. Yeah.
right? So that is going to help you understand things properly, and for you to actually go ahead and materialize things, it's going to be very easy for you. And then
Mhm.
from what I like, uh, so there are essentially two things that I like. So irrespective of the technology embedded or infrastructure operations, I like being around people. So
Good.
I am a technology manager. Okay.
Okay.
And then I like coding. Okay. So irrespective of what I do, I'll somehow find my way around these two things. So I cannot be left without coding, I cannot be left without people. So I'll try to find a way to be around people, make influence in the way we work, and try to have a positive impact on them.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. And this is usually a rare combination, and especially somebody who is talking about automation and also talking about people, right? So because we know automation is also about bringing down the size of teams and all that. But yeah, we will come to that later, anyways. But you have been into bigger roles, Rahim. You have traveled outside India for work, and today you are successful in your career. But what I see in your profile is you have hardly done any certifications and you haven't done any MBA. But I see a lot of people have this myth who say that if I have to grow in my career, I need to have some master degree, maybe MBA, and certifications are must in the IT industry, without which I cannot grow. I cannot grow in my career at all. So, what is your experience and take on this, Rahim, about certifications and MBAs and all that?
Yeah, I think at a foundation level, a degree, right? Being an engineering graduate, so that actually instills you the values of how to think.
Hmm.
And if you are from a finance background, doing having a degree in commerce, or if you are from an arts background, having a degree in arts, is going to lay that foundation for you. That is very important.
Right.
Beyond that, it is like the certifications are a way for you to get to an interview at a fresher level again,
Yeah.
right? When you are just out of college. So this is again my take. So this is how I feel, right?
Yeah.
So
Perfectly fine.
certifications
Yeah.
will help you go ahead and get to an interview level, and from there on it's like they are going, it's up to you how you deal with the interview at that point in time. But beyond that, so certifications don't help, trainings do help. Okay, I am
Hmm.
a big fan of trainings. What will take you a couple of months to go ahead and gain knowledge on, you can gain that knowledge in a matter of week from a industry expert. So attending
Right.
a training is very important, and I have myself attended various trainings. I love learning, so I keep educating myself. So go ahead, train yourself, gather the knowledge. Certification is like, again, just to prove that you have done something. Okay, and you don't need a paper to prove what you know, right? So
Absolutely.
when you actually start doing things, people will notice what you know, and they will recognize you for it.
Right. And what about MBA? You have
Yeah.
not done any MBA, and you have been to this position where you are traveling places and been able to get success in your career. Do you think MBA is very important?
Yeah, if you look at my journey, right? So every organization that I change, I move from a leadership role to a technical SME or architect role, and then I
Hmm.
transition back and forth.
Right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there is nothing to say that a technology leader cannot be a people leader, and vice versa, right? And you don't
Right.
need a degree to do that. What you need is empathy. You need to have a good understanding of people. So do as you want to be done, right? So
Yeah.
if you have that concept of like handling people and being honest about things, understanding finances, right? So one of the best ways of learning things is, if you know of anybody performing a role that you want to perform,
Hmm.
spending time with that person, interacting with that person over tea, coffee, or like going ahead and interning with them, right? Outside of your
Yeah.
job, right? Say somebody is performing a role that you want to perform in future, you can just go talk to them and say that, okay, this is what I look up to, and start going ahead and work, helping him in terms of outside of your work duties to go ahead and perform that role. You'll start learning things, and that will help you
Yeah.
slowly transition into that role.
Right, right. I think you have added some great points here because yes, neither MBAs nor certifications. It's always your skill, and it's also about how passionate you are. Like when you are
Yeah.
talking, we can understand you are passionate about dealing with people, working with people. You are also passionate about technology. So when you are passionate about something, as you said, you love learning things, you love implementing, seeing solutions. Right. I think that makes a lot of sense, and that is something that will help people for that long term success as well. Yep.
Yeah.
And you have been into automation. So, what is this automation led service delivery that you talk about? And you have also been in a role where you are doing this. So, what is it?
Yeah. So traditionally, if you look at it, right? So when large companies used to bid for service delivery contracts, it used to be that, okay, so if it is a managed services deal kind of a thing, right? It used to be that, okay, so they used to look at the number of CIs and the number of incidents per month, and come up with a formula to say that, okay, I need X number of people to go ahead and deliver this solution for you, right?
Right.
Or to go ahead and deliver or manage the services for them over a period of 1 year. They say, for example, the first year you are going to deliver with 100 people, then the expectation would be that since they would have learned, the second year they would reduce it by 5 or 10 people, and then the third year it would another 5 10 people. It used to be like that. And the way of reducing that was, since you learn things, you become expert, so you easily handle and manage things. That used to be the traditional bid model of how people or companies used to go ahead and bid for projects.
Right.
Now with automation, this has changed. So there is going to be a combination of humans plus bots that goes
Mhm.
into actual bidding of contracts. So you'll go with the assumption that I am going to automate 20%, 30% of the work in year one. So I don't need 100 people. I'll start off my journey with actually 80 people. What used to be the target for year five earlier, you start off that on year one. And then
Hmm.
every year, the way you reduce people is by going ahead and automating things for them.
Right.
So this is what is automation led service delivery. So you focus your service delivery around automation. You don't go ahead and first transition out and then spend 6 months gathering everything and then start automating. Day one, you are going to get into the contract with transition team and start doing automation for them.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. This is the new way of working where you are doing it as a combination of people and robots there, right? The
Yeah.
technology also. And there are different tools, different technologies again in automation, right? In the market, there have been different tools. How do you define that this is the right fit for a certain customer or this is the right tool we need to use for a certain scenario? How do we do that?
Yeah. So basically, again, as you stated out in the introduction of this talk show, right? So there are various things in automation. You have runbook automation, which is popularly known as RBA. Then you have robotic process automation, which is RPA. Then runbook automation, again, also referred as IT process automation or ITPA. Then you have build and configuration management. So each one has a tool for them. And then there
Hmm.
are certain tools which are a combo of all of this.
Okay.
Okay, so if you look at it a couple of years back, right, 2 to 3 years back, for each of these technologies that you have to automate, you would require a tool to do that. So
Hmm.
what is happening is how do you go ahead and decide about a tool, right? So what you would generally do is you look at your other infrastructure monitoring environment or how is your infrastructure landscape, right? So if you have a certain set of monitoring tools, then if you have a certain set of ticketing tools, right?
Right.
So you'll have to look at the automation tool that would be a right fit for these two tools. How
Okay.
easy it is for these the automation tool that you're bringing in to integrate and talk to these two tools. Essentially, when you
Hmm.
look at ITPA or runbook automation, or you're automating your infrastructure, right, or applications, this is going to be a lot of work around tickets or around alerts generated by monitoring tools.
Right.
So
Hmm.
for that, if you have an easy integration layer built in, wherein we can talk easily to these two tools, half of your work of integrating and setting up the platform is done. From there on,
Wow.
your time to market is significantly reduced, wherein you can just go ahead and start building actions to go ahead and perform and get the desired outputs. And then a lot of tools also actually offer as a package built-in bots. So
Hmm.
certain tools offer like 500 plus parts on various standard technologies like Windows, Linux, Network, Unix, Oracle, SQL. So various things like that. You have a lot of built-in bots that various tools offer. So that is another factor that you want to consider based on what you're trying to automate, right? Whether
Right.
this is going
Yeah.
to be the right fit. Then when it comes to robotic process automation, so the cost is like a significant factor when it comes to robotic process automation, because
Hmm.
what would happen is you'll have to go ahead and deploy bots on each individual machine to go ahead and perform your process automations for you, which are essentially GUI based automations and things like that. So here, the best part about these tools is they provide a record and play feature, wherein you
Hmm.
can go ahead and record the actions that you take using the mouse clicks or the movement of mouse or the keyboard, what you type on the keyboard and things like that. It is actually going to record this, and then you can replay, edit and replay. So what that would mean is, so if you have a standard process that you are following, you can literally go live in a couple of days with robotic process
Hmm.
automation. A significant amount of task that is going to take time, that can be automated in literally a couple of days. So that is how strong the technology is. And then there are various other open source tools and things like that, where the industry has evolved to go ahead and mimic all of these things using a script like Selenium and various things like that.
Wow. So I can relate this to the proverb if it says, if you cannot explain it simply, then you haven't understood it well. right? The way you have explained this entire technology in the simplest words, where you are talking about understanding the customer environment, starting from the monitoring systems to the ticketing system, and making sure use the tools which you can integrate it easily, and also about RPA, ITPA, and all this, right? It's like you have simplified it to for people even if they don't understand automation, I think they can understand how this works well. So thank you for that simplified version of it, Rahim.
Yeah,
And
I'm glad I could do that.
yeah, so you have done it really well. And I know you were talking about when you started right from your college days, you were good at scripting, and that's how you started your automation as well. And now, if somebody is like very good at scripting and they want to automate everything using scripting, do you think they can continue doing that, or do you think still these tools like RPA, ITPA, and all would be required for them to automate things?
Yeah. So first off, scripting at an individual level is good. So if you have a task that only you perform and you want to automate that task, then you can go ahead and write a script definitely. But if you want to
Okay.
do an enterprise level automation, wherein you want to go ahead and have a task that is going to be executed by a team of people, right?
Right.
Then if you have script, then management of that script, then upgradation of the script, maintainability of the script basically, right? And then once the resource who has written that script is gone from the organization or the team, right? How do you make any changes or deal with that script in case of any issues? So this
Mhm.
becomes challenge. So
Right.
what you would need for that is like a centralized management of it. So that's where a typical orchestrator or yeah, development environment comes into place, right? So
Mhm.
what an orchestrator does for you is it is going to tie up how to execute the script and when to execute the script.
Right.
So that is what essentially most of the tools, if you look at like tools like HPO, then you have Atrium Orchestrator from BMC, then you have IPsoft, IP Center from IPsoft, then you have iShare from IAHU, right? A
Right.
lot of these tools are essentially your runbook automation orchestrators. So what all of these tools does is they are going to provide you an integration capability with the monitoring system, with the ticketing system. And so that is basically going to be your intake process, right? When I get an incident like say a disk is full, right? So what I want to do is go ahead and execute a workflow or automation that exists to go ahead and clean up the disk space or expand the disk or do something with it.
Mhm.
So the script becomes a workflow for you, and it becomes easily manageable because it's there in the central environment, and you would have followed a set of practices that is required to be actually put into the tool so that it becomes readable, maintainable. But when it comes to scripts, if you don't have strong controls around it, you typically lose the track and get into maintainability issues. And there is
Right.
no central execution platform for the scripts.
Yeah. Okay. Makes a lot of sense here. Like where we are also not trying to be dependent on people here, and we know how difficult programmers, I think, can understand when they have to debug somebody else's
Yeah.
programming programs that have been written or script to be later taken care. I think it's a challenge. But thank you for bringing out those some of the examples of those tools that are available in the market as well, and that helps to understand the importance of those tools, orchestrators, and all that as well. Now when we are talking about all these tools, the products, right, what are available in the market now, few organizations, we know most of the organizations are moving towards automation, but few organizations work on building their own automation tools, right, while others prefer the COT solution. What do you think is preferred, and with your experience, what works best?
Yeah, so this is like the very common argument about build versus buy, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
or in layman terms, if I have to put it, whether I want to rent a house or buy a house, right?
Right.
So, what are the advantages and disadvantages around it? So again, the similar things happen when you do a build versus buy, right? So if there are technology experts within your organization and team that can help you go ahead and build an orchestrator for you, then you align or move towards going ahead and building it, right? So what you have to keep in mind is, so there are a lot of things that come around with it. Technology in this area is fast changing, so you have to keep up with the various technologies. And obviously, if you are trying to go ahead and build something, you are more leaning towards open source tools and technologies,
Right. Yeah.
wherein the technology today, 2 years back, is like something obsolete now, and we are completely gone into doing something different
Mhm.
today. So you have to keep up with that rapid pace of changing, and have a team that is aligned and ready to be able to make those changes. And it is not just building of the tool, right? Again, usability of the tool.
Mm.
So once the true tool is built, for you to go ahead and actually utilize that tool, how easy it is for the talent, for the engineers to go ahead and learn about this tool, right? And then come up to speed of how do you go ahead and utilize this tool for its best efficient purposes. Then the third part of it is, how do you actually maintain the tool? How do you support, right? So if I have a team of 100 people or 100 automation engineers using this tool, and if the tool is down, what is the impact of this? How are you going to support this? And just imagine that the kind of questions that you would have from these 100 engineers to go ahead and use this new tool, which is they have not seen, right? And
Right.
you have to train these engineers to go ahead and actually have to build the capability to go ahead and understand this tool and use this tool. And there will
Right.
be, again, less inclination from the engineers if it is not a standard tool or a standard programming language that is being used, right? So what happens 2 years down the line for me, right? Say I become an expert in tool A that my company offers, and then when I decide to change my job 2 years, 3 years down the line, and if this tool and technology is not being used anywhere else in the industry, right?
Mhm.
So nobody would want to come and work on this tool. Nobody
Right.
would
Yeah.
be willing to spend the time and energy to learn this. He would think that, okay, it's like easier for me to go and learn something else. But if the
Right.
tool uses the right technologies that are in demand in the market, you have the
Right.
second different set of problem, wherein you train the engineers and they would be gone the moment they learn. The retainability is going to become a challenge. So it's like a fun aspect. And if you move to cards, all of these things are taken care of, right?
Mm.
It's a commercial off the shelf product, which has, when you go ahead and purchase, you would get a typical support agreement with the license, and they will have a team of people to support you in case of queries and questions, and obviously support in case of any infrastructure getting down or any issues around it. You would have proper documentation. You would do your enough research before you go ahead and invest onto the tool. Again, time to market is going to be quicker for you if you go with the card solution.
Right.
And but if you go with your own tool, then it's going to be like you have things within your control, more flexibility and things like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think as you mentioned, there are both advantages and disadvantages. But seeing how you have in terms of resources, do you have people who are trained on technology, and advantages of getting in people from different companies or different places from the market, all those things have to be considered. So I think that's a good perspective from your side. So thank you for that. And how does a typical automation service delivery look like? Can you take us through that? Like, what are the key aspects of it?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So you typically start off the journey by understanding what goes on in the client environment or the
Mm.
environment that you want to go ahead and automate, right? So you'll have to understand what are the kind of tickets that they get, or what is it that you want to automate first. Is it your tickets? Is it your reports? Or is it your build process? Or is it everything that happens in the environment you want to see and
Mhm.
automate as much as possible? So basically, you'll have to look at the landscape, infrastructure landscape that is around it, and then basically come up with the analysis of what can be automated and how it can be automated.
Right.
There
Yeah.
would be certain legacy systems, right, which would require certain extra tools to go ahead and automate it. For example, mainframe systems. So for going ahead and automating mainframes, you would need special tools and technologies to go ahead and look at the emulators that they work on and finally go ahead and look at a way of integrating with them and automating it. So the first step in the process is understand what is there in your infrastructure landscape and the application landscape, and what is of interest to you at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
Then look at there are a lot of frameworks that the industry offers today to go ahead and look at. If you look at any of the lean principles for that matter, right, that the standard industry has, you would come to a basic analysis to say that, okay, so these are all the process, or these are all the tasks that I will be able to eliminate.
Right.
Anything that you can eliminate as a process improvement, that could be
Mm-hmm.
the first thing to do. You don't want to automate a broken process, or if you can fix the process, nothing like it. So you're cutting the nail, right? So
Yeah.
right at the bottom, you're dealing with the situation there.
Okay. So sorry to
Then
interrupt you here, Rahim, but when you say cut, if the process is broken, that means to automate anything, you should have a well-defined process, is what you're saying, right?
absolutely, yeah. Otherwise, you
Mm-hmm.
are automating a broken process, and you are getting into more and more issues. You are just keep on bandaging it, right? So if
Yeah.
you have a broken process, first step is to fix the process, and
Right.
then automate that process.
Yeah, yeah. I think this itself is a very important point, which comes with your experience again, right? Because if somebody is trying to fix a process, right, or without fixing the process, trying to automate, I think automation will not be successful. And I think that's where many people, when they automate things, they say we have not got results, right? Because they are trying to automate wrong things there, or not trying to standardize the process before automating it. Yeah. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So it's been a long time since I've talked so much.
It's okay.
I'm
Take
joking
your
out.
time. Take your time.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the next thing is once you have identified the processes that you want to automate, then you go ahead and look at uh, what is the benefit of automating, right? It is not always that it is going to help you reduce people, right? So that is one of the things that people very easily misunderstand what automation is, right? It is not always about FT reduction. It is also about
Have some water. It's okay.
yeah.
We still have time. Like people are watching, people are liking this conversation as well. Right. So yeah. So good. This is an interesting conversation. I'm loving it, right? Because I think automation is their technology. Like everybody is moving towards automation. So you simplifying things is, I'm sure, like it's going to be helping a lot of people who are watching right now and later as well. Yeah, please go
Yeah.
ahead, Rahim.
So basically, you're looking at improving the quality of service,
Right.
right? So as anybody would know, you would have priority one, priority two, priority three, priority four tasks, right? And the defined SLAs for each of these tasks is going to be different. Sometimes it is like a priority for SLA is like 4 days, 5 days, and for a simple ticket, it could be like no, none of the engineers are picking it up because it's a low priority task.
Hmm.
But from the quality of service that gets provided, that gets handled in an hour, so the user experience or the end user experience that you have is going to be amazing for you.
Hmm.
So here what you would have is, when you automate all of these tasks, so a ticket gets raised and you have a resolution in less than half an hour, 1 hour, irrespective of the priority of the task, there is going to be a wow factor for you. The mean time to resolve, the mean time to respond, the standard quality of service that automation is going to provide cannot be matched with what a human can do. And what this is going to do is, it is going to free up the human service providers to go ahead and elevate themselves by learning more important things that they can do in their time.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's where all the automation is taking that much big place in the industry, right? Where you are able
Yeah,
to reduce MTTR when you're talking about it, or increasing productivity and all that, right? I think
yeah,
that's where it plays a very important role. And we also know that analytics plays a big picture when it comes to like today. It's also one of the fields which people are looking into. So, what is the role of data analytics in automation?
that's a very nice one. So if you look at when we started talking about the previous question, right? So it was about you look at the tickets that are coming in
Right.
or the tasks that you want to automate, right? Earlier, it used to be that you used to take that, put it in an Excel or run through some tools to find out what can be automated. As an improvement, what is happening now is along with this automation tools, you are getting analytics plugged into it. So when you
Mhm.
have a ticket that comes in your automation tool, there are certain tools in the industry that are going to recommend and say that, okay, for this kind of a problem, go ahead and run these automations for you, or
Mhm.
run this set of actions that is going to help you to go ahead and resolve this issue for you. That is one
Right.
thing. Second thing is they are going to provide you beautiful dashboards to say
Mm.
that, okay, so this is the problematic CI that is giving you the most number of issues. All that you had to do was plug the automation tool with your monitoring or the ticketing tool. The moment they are talking with each other, you have dashboards getting populated with all kinds of data that you can infer from. Your entire problem management can be looked at these dashboards and can be derived from. So you would see like, okay, the CI that has the maximum number of issues, the problem classification that is getting that you are getting hit worst, right? For example, capacity is issue, right? Then you know that, okay, if I'm going to invest in capacity, then I'm going to get rid of all of these issues.
Right.
Then it could be that you have a constant application that is going down. Then if you can go ahead and do a problem management on that particular, or a RCA, root cause analysis on that particular issue, then you are going to deal with that forever, right? So you are
Right.
not going to keep on applying patches on it or going and restarting services. You are going to solve the problem once for all and free up your resources to do something better.
Wow, that clearly shows how important data analytics plays as a role, even when it comes to automation, right?
Yeah.
Because I can see that if the data analytics is not done properly there, that means you cannot really automate the right stuff there, right? So analytics, people who are looking forward for analytics, people are who are looking at this, the recording later or watching us live right now, also understand the importance of analytics. A lot of people do not see where all analytics can be used, right? And this is a very
Yeah.
important prerequisite for automation. So thank you for bringing that importance also out there, right? By using the data in the right ways, putting it in the right place, and then being able to automate the right things,
Yeah.
right? And Raim, while we have been discussing a lot of tools, and in the beginning you said you are passionate about not only technology but also about people. So what role do people play in making any service delivery successful?
Oh, they play the most important part. A tool is only as good as it is being used for. So
Wow.
you can
Can you
have a
repeat that?
wonderful,
Can you please repeat that? That's
yeah,
amazing. Like, yeah.
yeah, the tool is only as good as it can be used for, right? I can have a
Wow.
beautiful AI, ML, so name a technology, it has it, name a thing it can do. But if
Right.
not used in the right context and not used for its right purpose and its right advantages, you are not going to do anything out of it.
Right.
Just in a couple of my last organizations, this is my personal experience. I have worked on one particular tool wherein we were able to go ahead and automate. We were able to deploy the tool across 30 odd clients only in North America, and it was a huge success. When I go
Wow.
to the second organization, what I got to know is that this particular tool they had tried and found it to be not efficient. The same
Hmm.
tool,
Okay.
and they
Interesting.
had to replace the tool and go for a different tool. And with the second tool, I got the chance to work on the second tool, and we were able to implement that across organization in Cognizant. And basically, we achieved great success out of it. So it
Now
is not
I'm
the tool.
curious to know. Now I'm getting more curious to know. Like, same tool you are saying in one organization gives huge success, other organization they are replacing that tool, and you are giving the example of another tool where you got success, and the same
Yeah,
things happening in other organizations. Like, what is the
yeah.
secret there?
It is about how you go ahead and understand the tool, what it is capable of, and
Mm-hmm.
how do you build a team of people to go ahead and deliver that.
Wow.
Right? So if you understand what the tool is capable of, what the
Mm-hmm.
tool is not capable of doing, then
Right.
you can structure your delivery around it. You cannot take, no tool is perfect and no tool can offer you 100% solution.
Hmm.
Right? If you understand the limitations of the tool, and if you work around those limitations to the advantages that the tool offer, it is going to be a success for you. But if you go the other way around and try to find problems in the tool and keep hitting, how do I get this fixed? I want this particular feature, only then I can work. Then you are hitting yourself there.
Wow, these are all golden nuggets, Rahim, because I know this comes a lot from experience. But whatever you are sharing here, I'm sure will add a lot of value for not only people who are automating things, but also like who are going to get into roles like whatever you are doing, have been doing, right? To understand this core foundation, because again, tactics many people can use, tools many people can use, but understanding these principles and applying them, it's very important. Yeah, please go ahead, Rahim.
Yeah. And the other thing is like you're having an automation team generally, and then you'll
Hmm.
have a service delivery team which is going to be working in tandem with the automation team. Right?
Right.
How well is the coordination between them, and
Hmm.
how well both the teams want it to be a success. If you have
Right.
two anti parties trying to find problems in each other, then it's like it's a people management nightmare, right? So you will
Hmm.
end up most of the times trying to find issues and pointing fingers at each other. Then that's not going to work for you. So you should
Hmm.
have common goals between the service delivery team and the automation team on what you are trying to deliver. If you have
Hmm.
that goals defined and the right mindset between these two teams, then it's going to be really success, because end of the day, it is these people who are supposed to go ahead and provide the service delivery guys on the ground that are supposed to provide your standard operating procedures, to go ahead and train the machines, perform the role of a machine coach, and various things like that, to go ahead and actually help the machines or the automations perform the way it is supposed to perform.
Right, right. I think you very well summarized this, that people are very important, and the the kind of rapport that you build with the teams and the understanding between the two teams, especially the service delivery team who are on the ground with the customer, right, interacting with the customer, and the automation teams who are taking up this automation projects to deliver to the clients and to the service delivery teams. Right, I think that makes a lot of sense again, and there are a lot of people who are watching right now, and later there will be people who will be watching recording as well, Rahim. And many of them will also be the aspirants who want to get into automation, new to automation, or already there in automation but want to grow in the same field. Now, what do you think is required for someone who wants to get or to grow into the automation field? What is the criteria here? Like, what kind of things do you suggest for them to learn, like programming languages, or maybe like tools, if there are any standard tools? Like, how can they get started, and how can they continue to grow in automation field?
Yeah. So one thing that I have followed is to be a technology agnostic and a tools agnostic person. So what I
Hmm.
mean by this is I don't want to marry myself to a particular technology, or I don't want to marry myself to a particular tool. So I want to be uh, whatever is the latest and greatest. If there is an opportunity for me, I want to go learn that and become expert in that tool. So if you
Hmm.
look at my career graph, so this is again based on my learnings and how I have evolved myself, right? So I have literally worked on uh, easily 10 to 12 different technologies in my last 18 years.
Wow.
And I have had my hands on, right? It's not just that I sit and manage a particular technology. I have gone into the depths of actually going ahead and working on things. So what this has helped me do is have a technology background, and then when I want to automate something, I know the nuances of what I'm trying to do,
Hmm.
right? I know the pitfalls.
Right.
So, and if I have to learn automation, right? So the basic thing is what is it that you want to automate, right?
Hmm.
So if you want to be a generic guy that I just want to learn the automation part of it without having the underlying knowledge of it, somebody gives me an SOP and I'll automate that. If that is a concept, then what you should learn is Python,
Hmm.
because that is going to be the language through which you are going to go ahead, and it's going to stay in the market, in the industry for at least a few years. And then if you are a Windows kind of a guy and interested in building a career around that, then PowerShell or Power Tools is that thing for you,
Okay.
right? Wherein you can go ahead and do pretty much anything that you want to do on Windows using PowerShell. So with these two scripting languages, right, or the programming language for you, right, you will be able to go ahead and perform most of the automation stuff across industries, across tools. Underlying on all the tools, you would form some flavor of these two things for you. So if you become an expert in these two things, then that's going to take you a long way. Then when you get an opportunity on a particular tool, learn that tool. No harm in doing that. But having a mindset that I'm going to learn a particular tool and then try to find a job or trying to enter automation through a tool, you might not be the right fit, because what my company uses, your company might not use
Right.
that particular tool, because there are plenty of tools in the market. So there
Yeah.
is, you cannot survive by learning a tool.
Right, right. Very rightly said here, Rahim. And if I can add on the same points, whatever you have said, never marry any tools or technology, because especially in the IT industry, we know it's a fast moving world, right? Where a lot of things are changing. Even if you say automation is today, artificial intelligence is there, machine learning is there, whatever is there, the technology will keep changing fast. So you need to keep learning new things, you need to keep upgrading yourself, rather than having the mindset that I'm fixed with this tool, I'm fixed with this technology, now this is where I will master and continue to be there. And I think that's where a lot of technology engineers, especially whom I have met, I've seen like staying stuck in their careers. Right? They are not
Yeah,
able to grow at all, and they don't know why they are not able to grow even after knowing the technology very well.
yeah,
Right? So I think yeah, this is a great point, and I'm sure like this has added and contributed hugely to your success, where you are always open, with the open mindset to learn tools, technologies, and always on that learning thing, and also implementing it faster. Right?
yeah,
That's also very important, because few
yeah,
people just learn, right? And then especially on this LinkedIn, I keep seeing somebody has done this certification, that certification, they are posting it where they are learning, but when I ask them, where are you implementing this, they're not implementing it anywhere.
yeah,
Right? And that's not going to help them at all. So I think you rightly mentioned here that learning skills and implementing and not marrying to any technology or tools will help in their growth. Right?
yeah,
And we see a lot of automation everywhere, right? Especially when I see bots, even when I am purchasing something on Amazon, Flipkart, or customer services we are reaching to, a lot of things have got automated. Now one common question I keep getting, and is will automation replace all the jobs? What is going to happen? Right? So what
yeah,
is your take on this?
yeah. That's a very common one, right? So
Yes.
in the last few years of what I've been doing, right? So one of the things that I've been very vastly getting into is like getting conversations with enterprise architects, with
Mhm.
security architects, and then finally, once we get a buy-in to go ahead and deploy a particular automation solution and define the goals and scope of what we want to deliver, the next step is going to be like the most challenging part, wherein you actually go talk to the guys on the delivery to share the actual procedures of what they're following, right? So you'll see that like a lot of hesitation coming, saying that, okay, if I give this to this guy, then the process is going to get automated and I'm going to be replaced,
Hmm.
right? So that is the most common thing. So, but what actually happens in the hindsight is, so what you are automating are mundane and redundant stuff, right? If I
Right.
have to give you an analogy, right? So a few years back, say probably 15, 20 years back, if you see large open fields in Bangalore, right, you would probably see what people used to call that as dhobi ghats,
Right.
wherein they used to wash clothes and hang them to dry, right? So that used to be like predominant in the Alsur kind of area in Bangalore, right? We used to see that quite often whenever we used to travel around that. But now you go there, you will not see that. So what has
Mm.
happened in the last 15, 20 years? Every household has a washing machine for you,
Right. Yeah.
right? And what is happening is the people are able to go ahead, wash their own clothes, dry their own clothes, and the job is done. They don't have to wait for a week for somebody to come pick their clothes up, wash it, clean it, and bring it back to them,
Right.
right? So they are able to go ahead and do it on. So basically what has happened is the process has been automated now, right?
Correct.
So there is technology that has come in and helped you to deal with a redundant or mundane job which a machine can do.
Right. Yeah.
But what has that led to? It has led to the creation of washing machine. It has led to the service engineers for washing machine, right? And it has
Yes.
led for so many industries to grow up and build these washing machines for you,
Right.
right? Then there is a whole delivery organization to go ahead and deliver these machines. So there are various jobs that has been created out of having this washing machine there available for you, right? But the same dhobi who used to wash your clothes might not be the guy doing this,
Correct.
because he is not upgraded himself to do this job for you. But there
Yes.
are a different set of people doing this for you. So that is where, if you upgrade yourself by automating, what you are doing is you are knocking off all redundant stuff that
Hmm.
can be done easily. So you are getting empowered to learn better things in life and do things for you. So what automation is going to do is provide you jobs like a SRE, like a machine coach, and various things like that, so that you can get advancement in your career. But if you stick on to like, okay, I will go ahead and do the same old stuff, then you are going to have a tough time.
Yeah, yeah. It is very important here, and I think mindset plays a very important role in this particular scenario, where people have to have that growth mindset, not having a fixed mindset that whatever I'm doing, I'll continue to do, continue to do, continue to do. And if they continue to do that, then I think they should not expect to continue to grow,
Yeah,
right? Because then they are stuck there, and they cannot say that. People say that that's the safe zone, but honestly
it is not.
speaking, that's not the safe zone. That's the most riskiest zone which
Right.
they are creating for themselves, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you rightly said. So they have to keep upgrading and see it as an opportunity, and learn things which are going to help them to keep growing, and that's how it helps the entire organization as well. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. And when we talk about automation, we also keep hearing about artificial intelligence, machine learning. Like, how is this connected with automation?
Yeah. So basically, artificial intelligence, if you look at it, right? So these
Hmm.
are basically nothing but smart systems for you. Anything that's intelligent outside of a human being, right?
Right.
So if you have a system that is smart enough and is trying to behave as a human, that's artificial intelligence for you. And when it
Hmm.
comes to machine learning, that's a subset of artificial intelligence, basically,
Hmm.
wherein a machine, based on data, it is learning something and trying to do a job for you. So that's,
Okay.
in a nutshell, in a very layman terms, what machine learning is. So machine learning is very frequently going to be used to go ahead and deliver more and more smart solutions for you. And there is going to be generally a training set of data that is going to be made available to the machine for it to go and learn things. And based on that, it's going to go ahead and derive its deductions and perform the actual operation that it wants to do. So that's in a nutshell how it is. And like what is happening as we move forward, there is natural language processing that's coming into place, wherein it's
Hmm.
going to, the bots are going to behave and understand the normal speech that a human is performing, right? And then understand what it infers. There is going to be sentiment analysis and various things like that to understand the behavior of a human through the language that is being used, and finally go ahead and converse appropriately with that user in the right sentiments and various things like that. That's how it is.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. And it was an awesome conversation. I loved it because it was a very simplified version of it, is what I love the most. Otherwise, technology sometimes gets so boring for people if they have to understand. If somebody is not into that, but you have made it very easy. And before we end this conversation, like, what is that one advice you want to give for people watching us, especially somebody who is in, say, mid careers, who want to grow to get to levels where you are or to bigger heights in their own careers?
I'll tell you something that one of my friends in cyber used to tell me. Right.
Hmm.
So if you want to love your job or love your company, you should take a home loan.
Okay.
So what that to do is that you are bound to all the risk in the world to say that if I don't pay my EMI, right, then I'm going to be in like very disastrous situation. So
Hmm.
what that's going to do is put a lot of pressure on you, and keep your head down and try to do things. Don't take any risk. Whatever my manager tells me, I have to keep doing that thing. Otherwise,
Mhm.
I might end up losing my appraisal. I might end up losing something, right? If you don't take risk, then you are going to stay in the same lane. Nothing is going to change for you.
Right.
Go ahead. Don't take home loans.
Okay.
Okay. Don't burden yourself, right? So go to the extent where it is financially feasible and possible for you, right? So don't overburden yourself financially, and be technology strong, and then go ahead and learn things. Take risk, because without
Right.
risk you cannot do anything, right? Challenge
Right.
yourself, challenge your manager as well, right? That is where you are going to go ahead and grow in your career. Otherwise you are going to stay at a level where you are not going to get challenged, neither anybody in your team is going to get challenged, and you are going to stay there at that level for a very long duration of time. Keep
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great message. And if I have to summarize, I think the key points that you have highlighted here is have that growth mindset where you want to keep learning, keep growing, right? And be ready to take the risk. And also, don't get stuck. Like, don't try to build something in a very short time, right? When you are going for loans and all this very quickly, where you are
Yeah.
getting stuck in terms of your growth, right? Rather work on your growth and then see how in the long term you can grow yourself, how you can fast track your growth, and how you can build your dream career which will stay there forever, right? So thank you for being here, Rahim. And people who are watching us, Rahim is usually very active on LinkedIn. So if you have any questions around automation, right, and want to know more, and you have any queries, all that, you can definitely ask Rahim on LinkedIn. You can reach out to him on LinkedIn. He is you can find him with Rahim Lodi. If you search, you can find him on LinkedIn, and I'm going to share the a link also for connecting with him on the YouTube and my Facebook and other social media channels. So thank you again, Rahim, for being with us, and it was an awesome conversation. I loved it thoroughly.
Thank you, Fatha. Thank you for having me here. As
Yeah.
always, I enjoy talking with you.
Yeah. Thank you. And thanks everybody for watching us. And as you all know, we are going to bring more industry experts who are going to share their experiences because they have gone through their experiences like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and they have built their dream careers through the hard way. But they are teaching you all those which you need to learn so that you can fast track your growth and you can build your dream career. So stay tuned, keep watching, and then keep growing and build your dream career. Thank you. Thanks everybody, and have a great day. Thanks again, Rahim.
Thank you.